Hello everyone, this is Dr. Nisha Nujumudeen. The topic of discussion for the day is Concept 18. There are three concepts in this video: inflation, deflation and disinflation. This is a very important topic of discussion. So now, what is inflation? In simple terms, inflation means price rise. For example, if the price of tomato was rupees 20 per kg yesterday, and today the price of tomato is increasing to rupees 30 per kg, this is called as price rise in simple term. And in economics, we call this price rise as inflation. Having said that, inflation is technically defined as the continuous or persistent rise in general price level. When there is price rise, what happens? Each unit of currency or money will only be able to purchase a fewer or a little unit of goods, which means that when there is a price rise, no matter you have money in your hand also, you will not be able to purchase or buy commodities or services as you want, because this price rise is affecting you from doing that. And thus, during inflation, money loses its value, or in simple term, the value of money decreases. For example, when there is too much of money supply in the economy. Now, what happens when there is money supply? You, me, everybody will have too much of money with us. Our purchasing power parity. What is that? Purchasing power parity in simple term means purchasing power capacity. What is the capacity of a person to buy a product or service based on the level of income? So now, when there is too much of money supply in the economy, automatically the purchasing power parity increases. Now, when your PPP increases, your total or aggregate demand also increases, thereby leading to what? A rise in price called as inflation. Because you have too much of demand to buy a commodity, automatically, slowly and gradually, the producers will also shoot up what? The price of the commodities. And now the market forces, that is demand and supply, also works like that. Having said that, in simple term, when there is a continuous or a persistent rise in general price level, that is called as inflation in simple term. Now, do you think inflation is good or bad? Inflation is not bad for a country like India. In fact, inflation is a natural and a necessary characteristics for a developing economy like India. We need to have a decent amount or level of inflation for us to grow. But it should be within the prescribed or the targeted limits or ceilings. That is why we have something called as inflation targeting in our country, India. In the next video, I'll be discussing with you as to what is inflation targeting. Okay, having said that, the next concept is deflation. Now, the opposite of inflation is deflation. What is inflation? Price rise. Now, the decline in prices or fall in prices, that is called as deflation in simple term. When the general level of prices declines or decreases over a period of time, then that situation is called as deflation in simple terms. Now, in inflation, money loses its value, whereas in deflation, money value increases. That is the relationship between inflation and deflation. They are opposite or inversely related. Now, do you think deflation is good for any economy? Actually, deflation is a rare phenomenon in a developing economy like India. It is mostly seen in saturated economy. So now, saturated economy means an economy that is highly satisfied. It has achieved market saturation. Market saturation means the market growth for the product, or let's say there is no demand, there is not much of a supply, everything is highly satisfied. So in such kind of economies only, you can find what? Deflation. Is it clear? Having said that, the next important topic is disinflation. So now, to make it more simple, disinflation is something between inflation and deflation. In simple terms, disinflation means a decline or a fall in the rate of inflation. I repeat, rate of inflation over a period of time. Now, what is rate of inflation or inflation rate? In simple term, inflation rate refers to the percentage change in price of year 2. That is, let's say for example, what is the percentage change in the level of prices for the year 2024 compared to the percentage change in the level of prices in the year 2023. So to know the difference, that is called as inflation rate in simple terms. Inflation rate is calculated as what is the price change, or let's say what was the level of change in prices in year 2. That is, for example, current year 2024 minus what is the change in the prices that was seen in the year 1, 2023, last year, divided by the price change of year 1, that is 2023, last year, into 100. It's just a formula. Don't get confused. In simple terms, when you are comparing between different levels or rates of inflation over a period of time. It could be monthly comparison, it could be yearly comparison. Now, when that rate of inflation, when that decreases over a period of time or falls over a period of time, that is called as disinflation in simple term. Now you will think that deflation is also fall in price, disinflation is also fall in price. But listen, it is not the same. Deflation is what? When there is a fall in the overall level of prices. For example, from rupees 100, it becomes rupees 80 to buy a commodity. When there is an overall reduction in the level of prices, it is called as deflation. What about disinflation? It is between inflation and deflation. And now, when the rate of inflation falls, let's say for example, from 5%, the rate of inflation falls to 3%. This is called as what? Disinflation. And now, in disinflation, price rises are still happening. It is not like prices are falling. It only talks about the rate of inflation. You understand? Here, in disinflation, though the rate of inflation falls over a period of time also, price rises are still happening, but at a very, very lower rate. That is the point which you have to keep in mind. All these concepts are again based on assumptions. I hope it is crystal clear for all of you. The difference between inflation, deflation, disinflation. Having said that, this deflation, it shows negative growth. For example, when inflation starts falling, automatically it leads to zero and then becomes negative. So negative growth is what? Deflation. And this deflation is again associated, or I can say it is invariably associated with recession. What is recession? Slowing down of economic activity. In simple terms, negative growth of the economy. When unemployment is less, when production is less, when no investment is happening, the economy is in a state of shaken manner, right? So now that is recession. Having said that, deflation is associated with recession and it shows what? Negative growth rate. Whereas disinflation never shows negative growth rate. It can never be negative because when the rate of inflation increases, slowly it declines. It may lead to zero, but disinflation never becomes negative. Is it very clear? It can only, maybe it can go up to zero, but not negative. Only deflation has a negative growth. I hope this major point of difference is clear to all of you. And now, in order to control inflation in the economy, multiple programs, multiple initiatives are being taken by the government as well as RBI, the central bank of our country. Having said that, currently, what is our inflation rate? As per November 2024 data, it is 6.2%. In October, it was only 5.4%. So now you can see it is shooting up like anything. This is the general inflation rate. If you see the food inflation, oh my God, it is even more crazy. That is, if you see in the month of October, it was 9.24%. 2024 data. In the month of November, it has come up to 10.82%. The food inflation, the price rise of essential food items, it is also increasing. This is seriously causing great trouble with regard to the living standards of the population. So it is high time that inflation has to be kept under control. So to sum up, inflation is what? A continuous or a persistent rise in general price level. What is deflation? A decline in the general price level, or when the price decreases. What is disinflation? When the rate of inflation falls or declines over a period of time, but price rises are still taking place. This is what you should know with regard to these three concepts. I hope it is crystal clear for all of you in a very simplified way. Feel free to put your feedbacks in the comment box. Thank you and Jai Hind.